Woman blocks black teen's seat, then everyone stares when karma hits instantly. The subway car rattled through the city's underbelly, its fluorescent lights flickering like a pulse struggling to stay steady. The air was thick with the scent of sweat, coffee, and the faint metallic tang of the tracks below. It was rush hour, and every seat was a prize, every inch of space a battleground. Malik, a 17-year-old black teen, stood near the door, his backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds dangling from his neck. His eyes, sharp and weary, scanned the crowded car for a seat. School had been brutal, a math test he'd barely studied for, whispers in the hall about his worn sneakers, and all he wanted was to sit, to breathe, to escape the weight of the day. Across from him, Karen, a woman in her late 40s, sat rigidly in her seat, her purse clutched tightly on her lap. Her lips were pursed, her eyes darting suspiciously at the passengers around her. When Malik's gaze landed on the empty seat beside her, the only one left in the car, her posture stiffened. She shifted, placing her purse on the seat, her movements deliberate, her eyes locking onto his with a challenge that needed no words. Malik hesitated. He'd seen that look before, the one that said he didn't belong, that he was trouble before he even opened his mouth. His heart thudded, but he stepped forward, his voice steady but polite. "Excuse me, ma'am, is that seat taken?" Karen's response was immediate, sharp as a blade. "Yes, it's taken," she snapped, her voice loud enough to turn heads. "I'm saving it." The car went quiet, the hum of the train suddenly deafening in the absence of chatter. Malik's jaw tightened. He glanced around, noticing the stares, some curious, some uncomfortable, some outright hostile. "There's no one here," he said, his tone calm but firm. "I just want to sit." Karen's eyes narrowed, her voice rising. "I said it's taken. Find somewhere else." Her words dripped with disdain, and the implication hung heavy in the air. "You don't belong here." The tension crackled like static, and Malik felt the familiar sting of being judged, reduced to a stereotype before he could even defend himself. A man in a suit nearby shifted uncomfortably, his eyes glued to his phone, pretending not to notice. A young woman with purple hair glanced up, her expression torn between sympathy and fear of getting involved. The silence grew heavier, the weight of injustice pressing down on Malik's chest. He could walk away, find a corner to stand in, let it go like he'd done so many times before. But something in him snapped, not anger, but a quiet, burning resolve. He wasn't just fighting for a seat. He was fighting for his right to exist, to be seen as human. "Ma'am," he said, his voice louder now, cutting through the hum of the train. "There's no one coming for that seat. I'm tired. I've had a long day, and I just want to sit down like everyone else." Karen's face flushed red, her voice rising to a near shout. "Don't you dare talk to me like that. I know your type, always causing trouble, always demanding something you don't deserve." The words echoed, raw and ugly, and the car seemed to hold its breath. The accusation wasn't just about a seat. It was a weapon, wielded with centuries of prejudice behind it. Malik's hands clenched into fists, but before he could respond, a new voice broke the tension. "Hey lady, enough." It was an older black woman, her hair streaked with gray, sitting a few seats away. Her name was Esther, a retired nurse who'd spent decades navigating a world that often tried to diminish her. She stood, her presence commanding, her eyes blazing with a fire that silenced Karen's retort. "This boy just wants to sit. You don't get to decide who's worthy of a seat based on the color of their skin." The crowd stirred. The man in the suit looked up, his phone forgotten. The young woman with purple hair nodded, her hesitation melting into resolve. Esther continued, her voice steady but fierce. I've seen this my whole life, people like you thinking you can gatekeep what's not yours to control. That seat ain't your throne, and this boy ain't your enemy. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, her face a mix of shock and defiance. But the tide was turning. A teenage boy with a skateboard, who'd been slouched against a pole, spoke up. Yeah, just let him sit, man. What's the big deal? His voice was casual, but it carried weight, a ripple of support that emboldened others. Malik stood taller, his heart pounding not with fear now, but with a spark of hope. He hadn't expected allies, not here, not now. But the car was alive with murmurs, with people stepping out of their silence. The twist came in the form of a quiet man in a janitor's uniform, who'd been sitting unnoticed in the corner. His name was Javier, and his hands were calloused from years of cleaning offices no one thanked him for. He stood, his voice soft but clear. I was on this train last week, he said, his accent thick but steady. Same thing happened to me. Lady like you told me I couldn't sit because I looked dirty. I didn't say nothing then. I'm saying something now. Let the kids sit. The weight of Javier's words hit like a thunderclap. It wasn't just Malik's fight, Anna Maria, it was everyone's who'd ever been made to feel less than. Karen's eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but the stares were unrelenting. Not all were kind, some were angry, some pitying, but they were united in their judgment. Her purse slid off the seat as she stood, her face burning, and she muttered something about not needing this before pushing her way to the other end of the car. Malik sat. The seat was hard, the fabric worn, but it felt like a victory not just for him, but for Esther, for Javier, for every person who'd ever been told they didn't belong. The car resumed its rhythm, conversations picking up, but the air was different now, charged with a quiet understanding. Esther gave Malik a nod, her eyes warm with pride. Javier returned to his seat, his expression unreadable but his shoulders a little straighter. The girl with purple hair smiled at Malik, a small gesture that felt like a bridge. As the train pulled into the next station, Malik looked out the window, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and red. He thought about his mom, who'd always told him to stand tall, to never let anyone make him feel small. He thought about the people in the car, strangers who'd become something more, if only for a moment. The fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. But today, in this small corner of the world, justice had won a quiet battle. The train doors opened, and Karen stepped off, her head bowed, her purse clutched tightly. No one watched her go. They were too busy looking at Malik, at Esther, at Javier, at the people who'd reminded them what it meant to stand up, to speak out, to see each other as human. The handwritten sign on the wooden bench by the door caught the light. A seat for justice. A story of confrontation and redemption. It was a story that didn't end here, but it was a start. What would you have done in that moment? Stood up, stayed silent, or something else? Share your thoughts on justice, prejudice, and the power of community.